They seem to have been thrown together promiscuously. They have also been found in narrow depressions resembling artificial trenches. The bone pits which occur in western New York are of various sizes, but usually contain a large number of skeletons. In some cases, the bones appear to have been deposited with some degree of regularity. One of these pits, discovered and opened in Niagara County, was estimated to have contained several thousand individuals. Another place I visited were found mounds containing human skeletons of individuals of all ages and both sexes. Not less than 400 were found in one place. We have the conclusive evidence that these mounds served as tombs and abound in human bones. It has often been said that some of the mounds are full of bones that have been perforated as though the living subjects were killed in battle, and that the skeletons were heaped together in promiscuous confusion as if buried after a conflict without order or arrangement. In some cases, arrow points are still sticking in the bones. From Samuel H. Brown in his Gazetteer of the West we read, "One of the skulls was found pierced by an arrow, which was still sticking in it, driven about halfway through before its force was spent. The arrow point was about 6 inches long. The subjects of this mound were doubtless killed in battle and hastily buried. Some of the mounds are full of bones that are perforated, as though the living subjects were slain in battle, and that the skeletons were heaped together in promiscuous confusion as if buried after a conflict." The book of Ether, chapter 15, verse 26, declares the Jaredite warriors were men of great stature. When Limhi's scouts found the remains of the Jaredites, they were impressed with the large breastplates which they found among the ruins. So impressed were they with these large metal protectors that they carried some of them home with them. These were made of brass and copper and were perfectly sound. Surely these were the first people to work the copper mines near Lake Superior. It is significant how the scientists have verified this fact, finding many giant skeletons among the oldest ruins. Turner mentions the skeleton being found at Aurora, which would indicate great height, exceeding by several inches that of the tallest of our race. Turner describes another fortress near the shore of an ancient lake which is receded to a mere swamp. Within the enclosure, near the gateways, are large piles of small stones, convenient to be thrown by hand or with slings. Some skeletons, almost entire, have been exhumed, many of giant size, not less than 7 to 8 feet in length. Harvey Rice describes an ancient burial ground that was uncovered in 1800. Concerning the giant skeletons uncovered in this mound, we read, "Human bones of gigantic proportions were discovered in such a state of preservation as to be accurately described and measured. The cavities of the skulls were large enough in their dimensions to receive the entire head of a man of modern times, and could be put on one's head with as much ease as a hat or a cap. The jawbones were sufficiently large to admit of being placed so as to match or fit the outside of a modern man's face. The other bones, so far as discovered, appear to be of equal proportions with the skulls and jawbones, several of which have been preserved as relics in the cabinets of antiquarians where they may still be seen." The first 2 chapters in the history of Cayuga County are filled with the accounts of the people who built the forts, whose remains are found in that area. Different races have been born and swept away successively, he is convinced, around the same spot where dwelt a race considerably advanced in civilization. Cayuga County yielded a rich harvest of giant skeletons, among the ancient ruins of which we have read that entire skeletons have been found of a people of giant proportions, the skulls and jawbones of which could cover the head and face of the most fleshy person of our day. We are told of a tradition which asserts that a destructive war was waged in this very section of the country, and with such fury and determination on each side that practically all of the warriors were slaughtered. Erie County has yielded a vast store of ancient monuments, including many giant skeletons, spear points, war hatchets, and other weapons that seem too large for an average-sized man to wield. Bones of giant size have been uncovered. Similar discoveries have been made in Ontario County. Skeletons of an early age, including many of an unusual size, have been found. Turner saw many of the giant skeletons that have been found in the land of many waters. He mentions thigh bones which would indicate great height, exceeding by several inches the tallest of our race, and that many of the skeletons found at Leroy, Batavia, and other forts in that area average 1/3 larger than the present race. In 1922, on the Rose Farm, 1/2 mile from Mormon Hill, a number of large skeletons, stone implements, copper ornaments, a copper axe of unusual type, and other articles were found. At this historic spot were found many of unusual physique, tall, long-limbed, finely formed skulls, teeth finely shaped. Brown's Western Gazetteer has much to say about the ancient burials in western New York, including skeletons whose possessors were persons of gigantic stature. Brine lists large skulls among the skeletons examined. Turner describes a fortified hill within 3 miles of the hill Cumorah, which was barricaded on an eminence made for a large and powerful enemy. It must have been a very valuable place for defensive warfare. The entrenchment, 10 feet deep and 12 feet wide, was plainly visible to the first settlers in that region. The skeletons that were found within the enclosure of this fortress and in the immediate vicinity indicate a race of men 1/3 larger than the present race. A few miles away, hundreds of skeletons of both sexes and all ages were found within an enclosure. This had been the theater of a sanguinary battle terminating in favor of the assailants. One of these large bones, a thigh bone of unusual length, was taken home by a Lockport physician. Almost all the historians and scientists who discuss this subject use the same terms. It is surprising how many of them mention the giants who died on the ancient battlefields in the lands of many waters, most of them insisting that the giant skeletons are to be found in the oldest ruins. It is amazing how many of these renowned scientists announce their opinions that are in accord with the accounts related in the Book of Mormon. Yes, there are 100 archaeologists, reputable historians, who have told us the story of Ramah, Cumorah land. Let's now take a look at the contents of some of the burial mounds that Joseph Smith said were heaped up by the Nephites and Lamanites. The floor plan of the Kiefer Mound, Miami County, Ohio. 12 skeletons were found arranged in a circle, with their heads toward the center of the mound, which was occupied by a fireplace. The skulls of 3 adjoining skeletons rested between their knees. A diagram of the Hagler Mound, Rome County, Tennessee. 14 skeletons were found. The plan of burials in the McGee Mound, number 2. There were 13 complete skeletons found, 29 separated skulls, for a total of 42. The separation of skulls and the other bones may indicate evidence of cannibalism, as the Book of Mormon related. This is the horizontal section of the Battle Creek Mound number 3 in Loudon County, Tennessee, where 9 skeletons were found in neat order. This is the diagram of the McMurray Mound number 3. There were 36 skeletons found in some disorder. This is the plan of burials in the Big Toco Mound, Monroe County, Tennessee.